Hi everyone. In this video, we will be dealing with the questions that were asked from post-colonial literary theory in December 2023 examination. So, here the importance of post-colonial literary theory is that we know post-colonial literary theory, it is a academic field of study that examines the literature and other non-fictional works produced from a early colonized country. So here when we study post-colonial literary theory, from a net point of view, the things that we have to understand in our mind is that we should know about the different concepts that are popular in the context of post-colonial theory, like hybridity, imperialism, colonialism, and then Orientalism, double consciousness, hybridity, mimicry, ambivalence. Similarly, we have to understand the different concepts like diaspora. Then you have to look at the major theorist that comes under post-colonial literary theory, and this theorists like Spivak, Edward Said, Frantz Fanon, Homi K. Bhabha, and you can find different other theorists who belongs to this particular category, especially like the writers like Salman Rushdie, etc. So here when you study post-colonial literary theory, normally the questions for NTA NET examination would be from a very surface level, like you have to match the following from with the writers with their respective works or works with their respective years of publication, and you can also expect surface level questions like which among the following is not a work of this writer, which among the followings are the works of this particular writers. So you can expect such surface level questions. And the next type of questions that you can expect from post-colonial literary theory is about the critical position of the theorist. Okay, for example, you can expect the questions like you will be given 5 or 6 options where you have to identify the critical position of the writers like Edward Said, Frantz K. Fanon, Homi K. Bhabha, Gayatri Spivak. So in order to answer that question, what you have to do is you have to have a basic understanding about the ideas and the ideologies or the propositions of these writers. Okay, so you have to understand what was said by Edward Said, what was said by Frantz Fanon, what is the difference between these writers. Okay, then it would be very easy for us to understand. So once again, you have to have a critical position. You have to know about the critical position about these writers. For example, Frantz Fanon, he focused on the psychology of the colonizer and the colonized, while Homi K. Bhabha, he gave more importance to the hybrid culture, or he gave more importance to the ways in which the colonized tries to become like a colonizer. Spivak, she gave more focus to the subaltern. So you have to separately understand the critical positions of each and every writer, and also you have to understand the major works written by them and the year of the publication. So if there are 4 or 5 questions from post-colonial theory, then it would be easy for you to it would be very easy for you to answer 2 or 3 questions, because the questions would be from surface level. Okay, so now let's look at post-colonial theory. So when we speak about post-colonial theory, normally the themes discussed are imperialism, colonialism, or the difference between imperialism and the other the process of decolonization. So let's look at the questions that were asked from December 2023 examination. Identify the correct options in the theorization of nation by Homi K. Bhabha. So this is one example of what I said about the critical position. You have to understand what is nation by Homi K. Bhabha. Okay, so what is the difference between Homi K. Bhabha's nation and Anderson's nationalism? Okay, so that is how you have to learn theory. You have to understand the concept of each writers and how these concepts differ from the further elaborations by the other writers. So here you have to understand what is nation according to Homi K. Bhabha. So let's read the 5 options. Nation arises from the similarities among people. Nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence. Nationalist representation engages with two contradictory modes of representation. Nationalist discourses are split by a disruptive double narrative movement. Nation is a stable and fixed category. Okay, so here this is what we have to, here you have to identify the correct options according to Homi K. Bhabha's theory of nation. So, here we can say that nation arises from the similarities among people. That is a wrong statement. Nation is something that comes from the diversity among the people. Nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence. That is an idea. We will further explain this idea. So, nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence. That is a correct statement. Nationalist representation engages with the two contradictory modes of representation. That is also a correct statement. Nationalist discourses are split by disruptive double narrative movement. That is also a correct statement. Nation is a stable and fixed category. That is not a correct statement. So, here we can say that B, C and D can be considered as a correct option in the theoretization of nation by Homi K. Bhabha. So, if you look at the option B, nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence. So, here you can find that Homi K. Bhabha, he argues that nationalist discourse, it is often marked by ambivalence. That means it contains conflicting elements or it contains contradictory elements. So, that lies with the representation of a nation. So, this ambivalence, it can arise from the tension between the colonial and the indigenous cultures or the complexities of this identity formation, because an identity formation is really a hard thing or really a complex thing when it comes to a colonized country, because my identity as a native Indian is actually altered because of the colonization. So, such types of problems it really affects. So, the complexities of identity problems or the difference between the colonial and the indigenous cultures, or there is a duality that is inherent in the power dynamics within a nation. So, any of such things brings an ambivalence. Okay, it brings a ambivalence in representation. So, option B is correct. Nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence. So, Homi K. Bhabha, he emphasizes the ambivalence and complexities within nationalist representations. Now, moving to the next one, nationalist representation engages with two contradictory modes of representation. Okay, so here nationalist according to Homi K. Bhabha, this is also a correct statement, because Bhabha tries to theorize this nation in the form of this contradiction. So, according to Homi K. Bhabha, he suggests that nationalist discourse operates within dual or within this contradictory modes of representation. So, it could involve anything, the simultaneous affirmation or at the same time subversion of dominant cultural narratives, the negotiations between different cultural or historical perspectives. So, the thing is that the contradictions can be of anything or the blending of multiple identities within the nation. So, Bhabha's theory, it often involves the examination of contradictory elements within nationalist discourse, reflecting the tension and negotiation involved in the construction of national identity. Okay, so that is one major thing that you can, this contradiction, it can be of anything. It can be like it could be a simultaneous affirmation, submersion of this dominant cultural narratives, or the negotiations between different cultural narratives happening or historical perspectives, or the hybridity, or that is the blending of different cultures or multiple perspectives or multiple identities within a nation. So, C is also a correct statement. Coming to option D, nationalist discourses are split by disruptive double narrative movement. So, Homi K. Bhabha's notion of a disruptive double narrative movement, it reflects the idea that nationalist discourses are often marked by internal contradictions and contestation. So, here the thing is that Bhabha's concept of double narrative movement, it refers to this what? Disruptive double narrative movement, or it refers to the disruptive and fragmented nature of a discourse, or disruptive and fragmented nature of these nationalist discourses. So this fragmentation, it is a result of different historical perspectives, or it is a result of the contradiction between the colonizer and the colonized, or diverse cultural experiences within a nation. For example, if you look at American nation, America is like, what can we say, there are different cultures prevailing there, so it might be a result of that. Or the split or disruptive aspect, it highlights the complexities, or it highlights the internal tensions within a nationalist discourse. So this is also a correct statement. So now let's go back to the question. So identify the correct options in the theorization of nation by Homi K. Bhabha. So nation arises from the similarities among the people, so that is not mentioned by Homi K. Bhabha. Nationalist representation is defined by ambivalence, that is correct. It engages with two contradictory modes of representation, that's also a correct statement. It is split by a disruptive double narrative movement, that is also a correct statement. So these ideas, it collectively reflect Bhabha's view that nation is not a stable or a fixed category. Okay, according to Homi K. Bhabha, nation is not a fixed or a stable identity, but it is like a site of ongoing negotiation. Nation, it keeps on changing, it keeps on extending, it keeps on expanding. So his work emphasizes the need to critically examine a nationalist discourse and complexities rather than treating nation as a homogeneous and unified entity. So here the correct answer is option B, C and D, that comes as option C. So the correct answer is option C. So now let's move on to the next question. Being a white man, in short, was a very concrete manner of being in the world, a way taking hold of reality, language, and thought. What does the theorist signify by the term white man here? So here the thing is that even if you don't know who the theorist is or anything regarding this statement, if you just understand the statement, you can answer this question. Okay, so let's go back to this question. Being a white man, in short, was a very concrete manner of being in the world. That is, being a white man means you exist in the world. Okay, being a white man means you exist in the world. It is like a way taking the hold of reality, language, and thought. That means you are being privileged. You don't have to think about many things if you are a white man. So here the question is, what does this white man signify here? A dominating man, a megalomaniac, a man with double consciousness, a form of colonial authority. So here the correct answer or the most suitable answer would be a form of colonial authority. Actually, the theorist is Edward Said, and the work mentioned here is Orientalism. So in the given context, if you look at the term, the white man is not just a individual. It is not just a Western man, or it is not about an individual's racial assertion or racial identity, but it actually shows the broader social implications of colonialism. Okay, because before colonialism, there is no thing like a white man or a black man, but this colonialism has brought this racial difference between a white man and a black man, that being a white man itself is enough to get a control, to get a privilege, to get an authority over the others. So here he speaks about the being a white man, these things comes to you naturally. The power, the authority over other, it comes to you naturally just because you are a white man. So here, in the context of this statement, the theorist is likely referring to the historical and social implications of being a white man, particularly within the context of colonialism. So here, whiteness is associated with power, privilege, and authority. If we look at the question, it could be a dominating man, it could be any dominating man, but the thing is that white man, the result of that term itself is that term itself came into prominence because of colonial authority. Okay, so where whiteness was often associated with power, privilege, and authority, the statement suggests that being a white man was not just a personal identity, but a position of dominance and a way of engaging with reality, language, and thought within a colonial framework. Okay, so the correct answer to this question, being a white man, in short, was a very concrete manner of being in the world, a way taking hold of reality, language, and thought. Here, the theorists signify by the term white man here is a form of colonial authority. So the correct answer is option D. Now moving to the next question. Identify the correct order of the publications of given below. Identify the correct order of the publications of given below. Let's read the works. Simon Gikandi's Maps of Englishness, Writing Identity in the Culture of Colonialism, Frantz Fanon's The Rest of the Earth, Homike Bhabha's Nation and Narration, Ernest Gellner's Nations and Nationalism, Robert Young's Colonial Desire, Hybridity in Theory, Culture and Race. Okay, so these are the 5 works given here. Let's look at the year of publication of these works. So, Simon Gikandi's Maps of Englishness, Writing Identity in the Culture of Colonialism, it was published in the year 1996. Frantz Fanon's The Rest of the Earth was published in the year 1961. Homike Bhabha's Nation and Narration in 1990. Ernest Gellner's Nations and Nationalism, 1983. Robert Young's Colonial Desire, Hybridity in Theory, Culture and Race in 1994. So, if you arrange them in a chronological order, the first work to be published in this category is Frantz Fanon's The Rest of the Earth in 1961. Followed by Ernest Gellner's Nations and Nationalism, 1983. followed by Homi K. Bhabha's Nation and Narration, 1990, Robert Young's Colonial Desire, 1994, Simon Gikande's Map of Englishness, 1996. So let's go back to the question. So if you arrange them in a chronological order, the first work to be published here is Frantz Fanon's The Rest of the Earth. It was published in the year 1961, and we know that The Rest of the Earth, it is a seminal work when it comes to post-colonial studies, and also it speaks about the psychological effects of colonialism in the mind of the colonizer and also in the minds of the colonized. And in this book he also mentioned about the struggles of liberation, about the problems of decolonization, etc. And the second work to be published here is Ernst Gellner's Nation and Nationalism. This was published in the year 1983. So the second work is Ernst Gellner's Nations and Nationalism. This is actually a seminal work when it comes to the field of the national studies. Okay, national studies, or the nationalism studies, which is actually a subgenre of post-colonialism and postmodernism, which became a prominent field of study during the postmodernism and capitalization. So Ernst Gellner's Nation and Nationalism. So in this work he explains about the relationship between nation, nationalism, industrialization, modernity, and the relationship all these have with each other, its effects on the society. And also he gives an insight regarding the formation of nation and nationalist ideology. So that is Ernst Gellner's Nations and Nationalism. So the third work that comes in chronological order will be Homi K. Bhabha's Nation and Narration. Okay, so speaking about Homi K. Bhabha's Nation and Narration, it was published in the year 1990. So we have already discussed about Homi K. Bhabha's theory on nation. So this work, it examines the complexities of national identity, how nation should not be regarded as a fixed or homogenizing entity, but it should be something as an ongoing negotiation. Okay, so that is what he discussed in Homi K. Bhabha's, and about the complexities of national identity, narratives of belongings, the role of culture, or the role of culture in shaping the nationhood. So that is Homi K. Bhabha's Nation and Narration. Then in chronological order, the next work to be published would be Robert Young's Colonial Desire, Hybridity in Theory, Culture and Race, which was published in the year 1994. So this is also a work on the concept of hybridity, the mixing up of cultures. Okay, it speaks about hybridity, especially on the context of post-colonial theory, like how this racial, cultural, or identity formations are changed by or shaped by these colonial encounters. And finally, we have Simon Gikande's work, Maps of Englishness, Writing Identity in the Culture of Englishness, which was published in 1996, which focuses on the construction of English. Okay, that is why the title Maps of Englishness, about the construction of English identity within the context of colonialism. And also it examines how literature and culture contribute to the development of nations. So here, if you look at all these 5 works, okay, I'm saying this, if any such questions would be, you can expect questions from any of these writings in the upcoming examination. So all these 5 works, it is focused on the study of nation, the formation of nation or nationalism. Okay, so that is a very important subgenre when it comes to post-colonial literary theory, and since it is a much more, what can we say, reasoned or a contemporary approach, you have to give more focus on nationalism or national studies. So the correct answer is option D, that is B, Frantz Fanon, followed by Ernst Gellner, followed by Homi K. Bhabha, Robert Young and Simon Gikande. So the correct answer is option D. Now moving on to the next question. Okay, so this question is also a match the following question, where in the list 1 you are given the works and the list 2 you are given the authors. This is a very direct question because all the works mentioned here are easy. No, I am not saying easy, but are very important from a net point of view. So you cannot go for an exam without looking at these works, and even the authors also comes under the chief critical theorist of post-colonial theory. So let's look. The works are The Rest of the Earth, Nation and Narration, Culture and Imperialism, Imagined Communities. The Rest of the Earth, Nation and Narration, Culture and Imperialism, Imagined Communities, and the list too. Author contains Benedict Anderson, Homi Bhabha, Edward Said, and Frantz Fanon. So okay, once again I am saying this Culture and Imperialism by Edward Said, it has been asked for more than 5 or 6 times, okay, just after December 2018. That shows the importance of this particular work. So we know The Rest of the Earth, it is a work written by Frantz Fanon, and the thing is that I said this as an easy question because even if you know the very first answer, The Rest of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, you can answer this question, okay. So that is why it's regarded to be an easy question. So Rest of the Earth, Frantz Fanon. Nation and Narration, Homi Bhabha. Culture and Imperialism, Edward Said. Imagined Communities, Benedict Anderson. So the correct answer is option C. So now let's look at these works in a detail. The Rest of the Earth, it is a work written by Frantz Fanon. It speaks about the psychological and social consequences of an ongoing colonialism on the mind of the colonizer and on the mind of the colonized. Then we have Nation and Narration by Homi Bhabha, which speaks about the complexities of national identities, the trouble defining nation, and about how nation is an ongoing negotiation rather than a fixed identity. Then we have Culture and Imperialism, which discusses about the relationship between culture, imperialism, literature in the 18th, 19th and 20th centuries. Then Culture and Imperialism, it is also an, it is like an elaboration of the theories that he mentioned in his work Orientalism. Then we have Imagined Communities by Benedict Anderson, in which he explores the concept of nationalism, proposing the nations are socially constructed and imagined entities shaped by shared cultural practices and representations. How like we do not have a face-to-face contact with all the people, we are just imagining. So this creation of nation, it is not a timeless or an age-old thing, but it is a product of postmodernism, especially print capitalism. So that is what he discussed in Imagined Communities, okay. So the correct answer is option C, that is The Rest of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, Nation and Narration by Homi Bhabha, Culture and Imperialism by Edward Said, Imagined Communities by Benedict Anderson. A4, B2, C3 and D1, that is correct answer is option C. Now again another question was from post-colonialism, that is Edward Said's Orientalism, okay. So Edward Said's Orientalism, Culture and Imperialism, both are seminal texts when it comes to literary theory, especially post-colonial literary theory. So here you have to identify the incorrect statement. It was published in 1979. That is an incorrect statement. Edward Said's Orientalism, it was published in 1877. Utilizes the concept of discursive formulation as argued by Foucault. Okay, utilizes the concept of discursive formulation as argued by Foucault. He has taken up the detailed analysis of imaginative geography and representation of the Orient. Okay, so that is a true statement. The first two statements are false. Option C is right. It is one of the foundational texts of post-colonial theory. That is also a correct statement. It puts to use Barthes's concept of death of the author. Okay, so it puts to use Barthes's concept of death of the author. That is actually an incorrect statement. So here the correct statement are B, C and D. Okay, B, C and D comes as option D. Okay, so if you look at these two, so 1877, and if you look at the next two option, he has taken up the detailed analysis of imaginative geography and representation of the Orient. That statement is true because Said's Orientalism, it critically analyzes Western representations of the East, exploring the concept of imaginative geography. So, Edward Said in Orientalism takes up a detailed analysis of imagined geography. Okay, imagined geography in the sense the Western representation of the East. According to him, that is a product of imagination. then it puts to use Barthes's concept of death of the author. This statement is also true. Said he, influenced by Barthes, challenges the notion of a single authoritative interpretation by emphasizing the role of multiple perspectives in the study of Orientalism. So the correct answer is B, C and E. That is option D. Sorry, C, D and E, that comes as option D. So these are the questions that were asked from post-colonial literary theory in December 2023 examination. So when you study post-colonial literary theory, have these things in your mind. First, look at the major concepts or major terms associated with post-colonial theory, then go for the major theorist, understand the critical position of the theorist, then take the important works written by them, study that in a chronological order, study the major factual details regarding the work like subtitle, when the work was published, etc., and if the title alludes to some other works, etc. So such factual details need to be studied. Then you have to understand what he tries to say in that particular essay or what he tries to bring into attention in that particular essay. Then it would be very easy for you to answer the questions from post-colonial literary theory. So that's all for this video. Thank you.